You asked for it. Here it is. It's a podcast from Apathetic Enthusiasm.
Coming to you live from Panda Express. There was a really good Chinese food place in the next city over, but we were in kind of a rush, and we really wanted some beef and broccoli and orange chicken. I'm saving the fortune cookie for later. So after we record, Interdimensional RSS, the unofficial Rick and Morty podcast.
Hello, everybody. I'm Travis.
Hey, everybody. I'm Brand. I apologize. You want to take that? You want to do that one again?
Never.
Yeah, let's do it
Live
again.
to tape. Live to tape.
Coming to you live from... I fucked it up again. No, okay, that's
Dang
fine.
it.
We'll just go.
All right. Well, your future is unclear, but maybe when you snack on that fortune cookie later, we'll get it all hammered out. Welcome, everybody, to Interdimensional RSS, the unofficial Rick and Morty podcast. So happy that we could be with you again this week as we work through season 6 of Rick and Morty. Already halfway through the season. Is that can it be, Brandon?
It can be, and
Wow.
it'd be
the midpoint, as they say. They say that everywhere. They say that all over the internet. They say it on Twitter. They say it on Twitter at Rick and Morty Pod. They say it at Facebook.com/Rick and Morty Podcast. Over on Instagram, Rick and Morty Podcast, and they send us emails saying it.
They do
At rickandmortypodcast@gmail.com.
But on the email they say it's the medium of the season, right?
Yeah.
Here's the thing, like salsa goes mild, medium, and hot.
Yeah.
Some folks, I'm not gonna name any names, but some folks are like, wait, is medium hotter or less hot than hot? And I'm not naming any names, and it's not you, but someone I care about deeply has this.
I wonder if they'll drop in
conversation.
randomly later in the chat for some reason. All right. Also look for us on Reddit, reddit.com/ no, that's not it. rickandmorty.reddit.com is the official subreddit. If you're watching the show live on Sunday nights, join the discussion threads over there that Brandon hosts and join the conversation. Or you can pop over to our subreddit, rickandmortypodcast.reddit.com. Our website, rickandmortypod.com, is where you can find every episode of this podcast. We are streaming live right now over twitch.tv/apathetic enthusiasm. Hello to everybody, including our first-time chatters over on Twitch. If you missed the live stream Monday nights, 9 p.m., that's not a problem. You can still go to youtube.com/apathetic enthusiasm, catch video versions of all of our podcasts. And then we want to say a big thank you to all of the patrons, new and old, over at patreon.com/apathetic enthusiasm. You guys are awesome. Thank you for supporting the show. And that is the news. All right. Thanks for listening. That's our show. Next week, we'll be back with another episode. No, Brandon, how's it going, bud? How you doing?
It is going good, Travis. I'm glad to be here. We talked before the show. We got ourselves pumped up.
Yeah,
We're
so
thrilled.
hyped. Look at new subscribers right there in the chat.
Oh, God.
The Serious subscribing live while we listen.
know,
It's amazing.
It's fun. Thank you so much for doing that. Really, really do appreciate you. And you know what? I think somebody else might subscribe.
Who could it be, Brandon?
Who could it be?
Who could it be?
I don't know who it is, but they're
probably not gonna work.
definitely not as special as Viceratist there. But hey, just throwing this out there, if you have an Amazon Prime subscription, guess what? You can
watch Thursday Night Football.
You can subscribe to us for free on Twitch. But anyway, that doesn't matter. You don't have to do that.
All right.
Don't waste.
Well, I mean, Brandon, we've got another episode of Rick and Morty to talk about, but before we get to that, we actually have many other things to talk about.
Oh yeah, we do.
In a little segment that we like to call semi-pertinent news.
Semi-pertinent news coming to you. I put a little swing in that one.
Yeah, that's fun. That made me feel like I was playing like an 80s brawler, like a game on the Nintendo Entertainment System.
Oh yeah. Oh, I should have done that. I was working on that bass. I was playing that bass line. Okay. I said I wouldn't do this last week, and I won't do it. Okay. Semi-pertinent news. Here we go. Uh, you know what? I think you should bring this one up because this is a pretty big deal. Before I even got into anything, before I even got into like Harmon, essentially, this was something that you were exposed to. So bring it up.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. 6 seasons and a movie. It's happening. That's right. If you are a longtime Dan Harmon fan, a fan of the NBC slash Yahoo slash, I don't know, like Hulu, Peacock series Community, then you know that there has been a long running joke that has become something that the fans have really attached themselves, not just the fans, but the producers, the creators, the actors in the show. This idea that Community would last for 6 seasons and a movie, right? And for a while, things didn't look so good, right? Dan got fired from the show like 3 seasons in. The show was in an off again, on again relationship. Dan eventually came back. They lost their deal over at NBC. Other networks picked it up. It got moved around. But thankfully, they were ultimately able to make 6 seasons of Community. Great show. If you've never watched Community and you're a Rick and Morty fan, highly recommend it. You can definitely pick up similarities in the writing and the tone of the show that are very similar to many Rick and Morty episodes. But for a long time, years, no movie.
Dare we say it?
No movie. Until now, confirmed all over the social internet and even in some Hollywood, what do you call those? Like
Variety, presses,
the
pamphlets.
The pamphlets. The Hollywood pamphlets, as they call them. It's confirmed the Community movie is in production. And I'm excited. I can't wait to see where it's released, how it's released. Will it get a theatrical release? I don't know. And also who will return, right? Like obviously issues with the show, a falling out with Chevy Chase, but other stars who have really made it big names for themselves. Who knows if they'll be coming back? Donald Glover. I hope.
Yeah,
I dream.
The Russos, maybe. Who knows?
Oh shoot! Yeah, fresh off their Endgame directorial.
Maybe they're
success.
like, you know what? We've had too much of this Marvel stuff. Let's take it back. Let's go back to the old school. But yeah, Community movie. It's gonna be cool. We'll continue talking about Community on our next podcast. Community School.
Yeah, our community podcast. We're gonna do that in the off season.
All right. So as is tradition, this last couple of episodes, the last season of the show, it is time for your multiverses update. That's right. Last week I talked about Rick getting released soon. Who knew that Rick was getting released that very next day? Rick is now playable. He is accessible. Right. Is playable. 3,000 coins. You can play as him. Now Rick and Morty are both in the game. You can play as both of them together on the same team or against each other. You could also have 4 Ricks and 4 more. It's cool. Rick is a cool character. You can summon some Meeseeks to send some after people. There was a Meeseeks that like he can swing the golf club and hit projectiles back at the enemy. He can Rick can portal. He can use
Classic.
little bionic skis. He's fun. He's a fun character. Oh, and he's got his portal gun. That's what he shoots. One of the skins is a Seal Rick 6.
Seal Team Ricks.
Yeah. So his portal gun is it's a rifle, which is one of the skin changes. But he's
so
pretty
having
cool.
played both characters, do you prefer playing as Morty or as Rick?
I haven't played with Rick that much. I got Morty up to level 13. I haven't played Rick online yet, except
Okay.
with Sun. But he's fun. He's going to take some getting used to, but I think that the fans of Multiverses prefer Rick to Morty.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, I have not played Multiverses in the last week, so I have not played as Rick at all. But yeah, I'll have to try it out at some point.
Yeah. All right.
Moving on, another big milestone
Woo.
in the Rick and Morty pop media multiverse. This one in comic form.
Mm-hmm.
What is number 100? Is this correct, Brandon?
The 100th Rick and Morty comic is coming out. It is getting released next week, October 12th. It's got some good writers, some classic writers, Alex Fearer being one of them. I'm going to try to actually talk to him maybe for like a little mini interview episode.
Mini interview.
Um,
Mini view.
maybe this week. Maybe if I can get him this week,
Yeah.
it might get
Give
released
him a
this week.
call.
So
Just call him up.
I
Hey,
talked to
Alex.
him. I talked to him
What?
on Twitter already.
Oh,
I mean, we're
okay.
friends. You know, we have mutual
Friend of the podcast. Friend of the podcast. Alex.
Alex. Mutual. I mean, you're the mutual acquaintance.
Yeah,
that's-
no.
that's all right.
He'll vaguely remember me. Well, congratulations to everybody at Oni Press and all of the writers, artists, creators that have made 100 Rick and Morty comics
Over the years, yeah.
20 of which I've probably read. So, congratulations, guys.
Good, congrats. Speaking of congratulations, we talked about this maybe last week, maybe the week before, but we noted that Jeff Loveness was writing one of the Avengers movies, Kang
Wrath.
Dynasty.
Yeah, it was like the Kang.
Yeah,
It
Kang
was
Dynasty.
the Avengers Kang
Dynasty.
Dynasty. Yeah,
Kang Dynasty. Avengers Kang Dynasty is
Kang
what
Dynasty.
Kang Dynasty. And we speculated because we're like, okay, yeah, he's there. Jessica Gao is on She-Hulk. We knew Mike Waldron had been a part of Loki. We're like, what's he gonna be doing? Certainly, he's not going anywhere. Certainly enough, he's not going anywhere because he is officially tapped to write Avengers: Secret Wars, which in the
Huge.
comics, it's pretty big deal. Doctor Doom is a major part of it, so we will certainly see the Fantastic
Lots of
Four.
speculation.
Um,
Who will be in it?
Who will be in it? But anyway, so the Rick and Morty, takeover of the MCU keeps its treads a spinning. Whatever. Oh, hey.
I'm sorry. I'm shocked right now. Grumpy Shih Tzu just subscribed for 8 months. I'm losing my mind. We've had more subs in this semi-pertinent news over on Twitch than we've had all of like last season. So you guys are amazing. Thank you guys. You guys are awesome.
Thanks, bro.
All right, moving on. We have a couple of semi-pertinent specialties that we have to get to every week. First and
That's right.
foremost being the Reddit post of the week. So
Okay, all right. We want to go ahead and get into our main content soon, so I'll kind of speed through this. But the Reddit post of the week is by user Blood Money 47.
gotta get that blood money.
Not sure where they got that blood money from, but probably the bank, the blood
bank.
Yeah, okay. In a post called Rick and Morty, but it came out in 2007. 6,000 upvotes, 2 awards, 339,000 views. So this is a meme that I didn't know existed, probably because I turned 40 and I'm old and it doesn't matter anymore. I'm past the age where I will be up to date on all this stuff. But the meme is that they put the Linkin Park song that was at the end of Transformers, the Michael Bay film, at the end of things. And so the video is from when Rick and Morty, when Rick and Jerry are in the simulation, and it's he's getting away from the Zygerians, and then the Zygerians explode, and then the Linkin Park says, "All I've done."
I gotta say that they did a good job on the clip because the music builds kind of towards the end as the Zygerians are blowing up, and then as Rick reclines in the chair, they kind of like match his mouth to the lead singer's singing. So it works. It works pretty well. But yeah, all right. I'm fine with that. It's funny. Here's your 6,000 internet points. Congratulations, Blood Money.
Yeah. Congratulations, Blood Money 47. You are the winner this week. And so moving on to our final segment here in Semi-Pertinent News. It is a segment we like to call, and we've always called, and
never not called.
Dan Harmon's Social Media Minute. It's the Dan Harmon Social Media Minute.
This is the part where I thought Brandon had music because he said he had pre-recorded something, but I must have been mistaken because he didn't have a button to press for me. All right.
No, I don't record music for you until you learn how to play guitar or use GarageBand effectively. You're on your own, pal.
I could do challenge accepted. Hold on, let me write a note somewhere. No, I'll do it later. I'm gonna have sick beats next week. Mark my words, everybody. Welcome to Dan Harmon Social Media Minute. All right, here we go. So we talked a little bit about 6 seasons in a movie earlier this week. Dan is obviously excited about the release of the Community movie. So excited that he was celebrating with his friends. And as you know, this is no longer the Dan Harmon tweet of the week. This is a Social Media Minute because Dan's not on Twitter. But this is a screen capture that is captioned only time in 5 years that I felt like I was missing out on Twitter. And this is Joel McHale, one of the stars of Community, tweeting out an excitement and tagging all of his Community friends in the tweet. So obviously he's tagging Allison Brie, Ken Jeong, Danny Pudi,
classic.
Yvette Nicole Brown. That's that Y&B there. Donald Glover. Also Peacock, Sony, Community. But Gillian Jacobs, who was his love interest in the show for a while, close friend. For some reason, he
distinctly absent.
This is actually a quoted tweet from Gillian Anderson, who was mistakenly tagged in this tweet, and she says, "Gillian Jacobs, who? I'm in, Joel McHale." So you heard it out here on Twitter, on Dan's Instagram feed. Gillian Jacobs is out. Gillian Anderson is in. Community, 6 seasons in a movie. And that's your Dan Harmon Social Media Minute.
We haven't seen a recast that crazy since Rhodey was recast in Iron Man 2. Terrence Howard replaced by damn it, what's his name? That guy.
That guy.
Hotel Rwanda actor. That
Don Cheadle.
Don Cheadle, thank you.
You're welcome.
Ocean's 11. Okay. Whatever. There's the flow. The flow's ruined. The episode's
all right.
over.
Well, that is our semi-pertinent news for this week. If you have any semi-pertinent stories that you think we should cover, make sure to hit us up on any of those social media platforms we talked about at the beginning of the show. And that's it. That's our 20-minute limit. We are now ready to jump right into everyone's favorite part of the show, and that is the main thing.
It's the main thing. Ooh, baby. It's the main thing. Ooh, baby. Ooh, it's the main thing, baby.
I love it. I love it because we're getting the music, we're getting that production value, but we're still getting those sweet, sweet lyrics that only Brandon Cruz can give you here on Interdimensional RSS.
All right. Well, welcome to the main thing, everybody. That's right. It is a new episode. We're 5 episodes into the season, and we're talking about Final DeSmithation. Woo! Originally air date October 2nd, 2022. Travis is laughing.
I'm cracking up. Sorry, guys.
Not sure he's laughing at. It is written by the great Heather Ann Campbell. Directed by Douglas Einar Olson, his third and perhaps final is what his tweet said. Perhaps. I think that means he wouldn't mind coming back. Guest stars Heather Ann Campbell, James Adomian, Lee Harding, Patricia Lentz, Lauren Tom, Nick Rchinsky, and Gary Anthony Williams. The synopsis for the episode, the official Adult Swim synopsis, is fortune cookies, bruh. Our synopsis, on the other hand, Jerry gets a fortune that he does not want to come true, but it's a good thing he makes a new friend.
And that's what it's really about. It's about the friends we make along the way.
Right.
Quick production note. Fans of Interdimensional IRSS will remember in our preseason episode where we recap all of the episode titles, our insider information had this as just Final Destination. We didn't get the DeSmithation portion of that. Maybe it was an autocorrect on whoever was writing down our source of episode titles. But yeah, so I was interested to see the final episode title.
Yeah,
for this one.
and I'm sure you were happy to see that, right? Because we had that conversation
So happy
before the season started. We're like, that can't be a real episode title. It's too straightforward.
Yeah.
And my thing was like, well, Night Family is pretty straightforward. And eventually they changed it. Maybe, again, like you said, maybe it was a typo, and maybe they just wanted to, throw us off the scent.
Yes.
So Final DeSmithation, Final Destination, the reference being, of course, Final Destination, the film series where Death, aka Fate, made a mistake and is trying to get back and put everything in its right place. And all the characters in that movie are fated for death, and it's coming for them one way or the other. So kind of in that vein of this episode, with Jerry and the fortune cookie really kicking off right off the bat with you'll have sex with your mom. Yeah. So Travis, why don't you get us started? Because I don't want to take your thunder. I know you're excited to talk about.
I have such little thunder to give. Really, my thunder's so depleted. But we do have a few themes from this episode to look at. So first, obviously, fate as a sci-fi concept, right? And we've dealt with other, high sci-fi rigmarole type things, but dealing with the idea of fate, predestination, the inability to sort of have a choice in things. I don't recall generally like too many other episodes that have dealt with this directly, and in a show where everything seems to sort of center around Rick and Rick's ability to science his way out of situations and things like that, and outthink or outsmart, outgadget whoever he's up against. Fate is a pretty big foe in that, right? Or something that's a challenge for him to face. And in this case, fate does not shine upon him as much as it does his son-in-law Jerry, and it's a fate that he's trying to avoid. But nonetheless, he's sort of locked into it. I don't know. What did you think about this as a concept?
I really liked when they're like, when we get into the whole conspiracy of the Fortune 500 company, get it, and it being more of a sci-fi scoped concept, where Rick likens it to gravity, where it can be scientifically measured in this reality, and he wants to harness it through this creature that they find out about. I thought that was kind of cool. They go into that room with that big ass monster, and Rick is like, Jerry is like, can't explain it, or whatever the line is, and then Rick goes on into the science explanation.
Yeah,
for
and
it.
like explains it perfectly, exactly what's going on. Yeah, absolutely.
And I think it's cool just to introduce it in that way versus, I think when we think of fate normally, we can think about it in like time travel terms, just in like time traveler comes back and we're like, well, we know this is going to happen because they come from that spot. But fate also is more like a divine kind of concept too, that like I've seen so much of that over the years that just this little aspect appealed to me. Yeah, I mean, they kind of stopped, and unfortunately, for Rick, he wanted to harness the power, but he gave up for reasons that we'll get into obviously as we continue.
And one of the things that I found really interesting, and they don't really talk about it until very late in the episode, but then it does become almost like a pivotal part of the show's ending, is this idea that when you're locked into that fate, when you're tied to that fortune, until it comes true, until it's realized, you're untouchable, so to speak, right? And Rick figures that out pretty early when he's using Jerry as a human shield and things like that. And that idea of Final Destination, right? It kind of, those movies have this theme where like you have a fate that you're gonna die, right? Like you cheated death, and so now you have to make up for that. You have to die in some way. But this kind of like plays on the opposite of that, right? Where like you have a fate, something has to happen, and so you kind of are immune from death until that fate is fulfilled. And that gets played out like 2 or 3 different times in the episode, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah, for sure. Something I didn't really pick up on initially, and I say this a lot every episode we watch, because we watch an episode, you should always watch an episode for enjoyment first, and then rewatch it for the critical analysis. And sometimes when you only watch it one time, then you struggle through it and you're like, oh shit, I need to think about this more. But anyway, so something I didn't catch initially, caught it on the analytical rewatch, and then also the inside the episode, is that there's this idea of Rick not being the center of the universe, with him like immediately being like, once he starts realizing there's something screwy about these fortune cookies, that he's like, oh, it must be about me. And he says a few lines about, this power is godlike, and so of course it has to be about me. And they go back to the Pan Express, and it has nothing to do with him. He just happens to be associated with this thing that's going on with Jerry, which he helps Jerry through. But like, yeah,
it's interesting because his assumption, right, is that, oh, if there's something high tech, overpowered sci-fi technology, it must exist to counteract me as Rick, the most powerful being, in the universe, or something like that, right? And his misreading of that, his assigning more value to that than it actually exists, is similar in a way to how Jerry assigns value to the fortune cookie, right? Like that's early on.
Good parallel, yeah.
Like Beth is like, Jerry, it's just a fortune cookie. Like, stop worrying about it. Stop taking it so seriously. And it's Jerry's inability to stop believing in it that gets the rest of the family to just start ganging up on him and making fun of him, right? But in a way, Rick falls for the same sort of, shortcoming, where he sees this, oh, it's setting off my sci-fi devices, and there's something actually here. Obviously it must be about me. Let me go shoot up this Panda Express and get to the bottom of it, which ultimately they do figure out like what the Fortune 500 organization is all about and everything. But I thought that was interesting.
They succumb to their suspicions or their superstitions, right? Something that as I was writing my version of the show notes down, when I was writing that he's not the center of the universe, it clicked. It clicked in my head writing that down. Going back to the season 5 finale, the CFC is done, right? And this idea that this place for a guy who thinks he's a god is now exposed,
Yeah.
and so that's all gone. He's not the center of the universe. The CFC is gone, and what like a cool way. And I don't know, maybe this is what they intended, maybe it's not what they intended, but I still think it's a very, very cool way to kind of reintroduce that idea in the middle of the season to say he's not the center of the universe, huh? Like things are happening to others, and there's something maybe starting to gnaw at him a little bit to be like, oh, shit.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
he had all his gadgets, and obviously he helped save the day, so to speak. But there's still that maybe little nagging suspicion. I think Harmon and both Martyr allude to it in their portions on the inside of the episode.
Yeah. Yeah, it is interesting. Again, an episode with no portal travel, so we are now halfway through this season, and portal travel still broken with no sign of it coming back anytime soon. Yeah, and so they're able to focus on other things. We've talked about, and it was mentioned in the chat earlier about this being a very Jerry-centric feeling season where Jerry's had like really good moments in other episodes, and now this is like, again, all about him. Not the most flattering side of Jerry in a lot of ways, right? But still redeeming, and we get to see a little bit more about the relationship between Jerry and Rick, and maybe they're becoming a little bit closer by the end of this, even if Rick is resistant to that actually happening. I don't know. How did you feel about how their relationship developed over this episode?
Well, I don't know. I want to, if I wish I had gone back and maybe looked at Taxi, maybe just like done a little bit of reading on Taxi, to see if there's any like tonal parallels between the series of Taxi with DeVito and Kaufman and Christopher Lloyd, who played Doc Brown, later the model for Rick. If that has anything to do like thematically, if it mirrors anything, because I feel like friends are assholes to each other. Travis, you piece of shit, and like maybe going back to Rick and his private place, and him wanting friends even if he doesn't really want friends. I don't know. I think Heather Ann Campbell doesn't want them to be friends, but I think some kind of common relationship, acquaintanceship, is inevitable there. I mean, the fact that Rick is like, I'm not going to let him bang his mom,
Yeah.
says something. He wants that ability to harness fate, and instead he's like, I won't let Jerry's penis go inside his mother's vagina.
Well, and yes, there's that part of it, but I think really what leads Rick to kind of help out Jerry in this is how ruthless the rest of the Smith family was in ridiculing him and giving him a hard time about the fortune. I mean, really preventing him from even going to the zoo, like unheard of things like this. It's just unbelievable. A family zoo outing, that's sacred, right? But you mentioned it. We've alluded to it. What, Brandon, you watched the episode before I did, before I got a hold of my 100% legal copy that I downloaded from the iTunes store. But your only comment to me was, ugh, more incest. Which, I mean, once is whatever. Twice is like a coincidence. 3 times, all right, guys, what are you trying to tell us? What is going on here?
I think
yeah.
someone on Reddit mentioned that like 8 episodes have at least mentioned incest. And, I mean, mentioned is maybe far not as bad as like being about it.
I mean, you go all the way back to the second episode. What is it with the dogs? In Scary Terry.
uh,
Yeah. What's
yeah,
it called? Lawnmower Dog. Thank you.
Plumber Dog. Yeah.
Thank you, brain. Yeah, right there. Sexual hangups in the pleasure chamber are punishable by death. So, yeah, they're already talking about it back then. Can't blame Scott Martyr for that because he wasn't on the show. Like, but yeah, I don't know. Like,
And they were disgusted by it. They were disgusted
Yeah.
by it in that episode, right?
And-
And Jerry, and to his credit, Jerry is disgusted by it in this episode.
it is a contrast to sort of the clone Beth's Bethic Twinstinct episode where again you can decide whether or not clone on clone action is incest or what it is, right? But it's, I don't know, it feels like there's a very heavy theme throughout this. So if it's
Yeah.
not, if it's let's keep it with it being the Jerry season. Maybe we'll leave this other topic in the first half of the season. I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe Naruto will come back, and then we'll just really put a whole bow on this season.
Like I think that I think maybe what it is it's a bit of recency, right? It's because it's been mentioned so much and so prominently in the last season and a half. I think that's why it's a little bit much for me personally, because you're like mentioning season 1, that's way back in the day. Nikki Chuck in the chat mentioning Rick Lantis mix up. One of the Mortys mentions you wishing for incest porn to be what is it like
more mainstream or something, or like
yeah.
That was like his wish in the trash portal or whatever.
Which just to be clear, they're not talking about actual incest with that. They're talking about anytime you go to Pornhub and it's like, oh, doing my stepmom, like that type of shit, right? Like that's what that's getting.
It's acting.
But like entire plots around it and being so close to each other, that's where it starts to be like, okay, all right, are you in the writer's room and like just like a little bit of like trolling instead of talking about like meta trolling and saying, hey, let us write our stories that we want to write with, say, like Never Ricking Morty. Instead, they're like, let's troll them with some more incest stories. So I don't know. Maybe that's my issue. So that's why I said, more incest.
I think less about the topic and more about the repeated going to that well for like there's other cringy things that that we can feature in this show. So one other random thought I had about this, and I almost punched myself in the face as I typed this, because this feels very much like why didn't they just use the Meeseeks box to do, X, Y, or Z or whatever, right? But the resolution of this entire situation with Jerry's pants flying off into the chaos void and him so close to fulfilling that unfortunate fortune. The resolution is Rick using his Inspector Gadget skills to write a new contradicting fortune for Jerry that he then throws the cookie into Jerry's mouth and thus undoes the prophecy, setting everything back to normal.
Okay.
A solution that was possible hours beforehand. To me, it just feels a little cheap. But I mean, that's my only criticism of that is like, I guess, how do you undo it without making the fortune have to come true? You read a different fortune. That's fine. It's fine.
Yeah, yeah. Trying to think back through the episode, in and defend that decision by the writers to have that be the resolution at the very end, but not
Yeah.
anywhere before that. And I try to think about just how action packed the latter half of that episode was.
Oh, it is for sure.
And was there really that much time for Rick to write a fortune and then throw it into Jerry's mouth? I mean, was that important to him in that moment? It wasn't really important to him until he saw Jerry's naked butt flying towards his mom, right?
Yeah, it's true, and mind you, I think he was more focused on gaining control of that, what I like to call Cookie Monster, instead of solving Jerry's problem.
Yeah. Nikki's right there. It wouldn't have been possible before they saw the space anus monster.
But then they had a whole conversation about
that's true.
that old man's, Catholic beliefs and things. So like there was time.
The dude who did that old man's voice, I was like, is that like the old man in Gravity Falls, McGluck, like it just has that like that prospector old man voice.
Yeah.
That I was like, is that Alex Hirsch? I'm not even sure. It's not, but
Yeah.
but anyways, I digress. I love that guy's voice. Is what I'm saying. He reminds me of that Will Ferrell skit. We're like, they're sending an old prospector into Afghanistan. Anyway, okay, all right. So we talked about fate. We talked about Rick not being the center of the universe. We talked a little bit about a friendship. We talked about incest. We don't need to talk about that anymore. You mentioned the taking things too seriously, maybe briefly. I thought that was really cool. I want there's a little bit of a callback there, I think, where let's take it all the way back to Doofus Jerry or Doofus Rick, right? Where Doofus Rick was Jerry showed Doofus Rick his coin collection, right? Or stamp collection, whatever it is. And Doofus Jerry's like, or sorry, Doofus Rick. Sorry, Doofus Jerry's from the comics. Doofus Rick is like, no, these are important to you. And so, like, I'm not making fun of you. Like, they're important to you.
Yeah.
Our Rick has a similar moment in this episode where he tells Jerry, like, look, what was the line? I wrote it down. Damn it. Just talking about like, crap. I wanted to get it perfect, but I'm not going to. So fuck it. He's just saying, look, you may be the single dumbest human I've ever known, but you have the right to be serious about whatever you're serious about.
Yeah.
Paraphrase.
Yeah.
And like that harkens back to something that is at the, like that's something good about Rick in that moment.
Yeah.
Because whether or not Jerry's an idiot, he's still like, don't bully people.
Yeah. When you go back to, like episodes like the Toxic Rick episode and things like that, where like they really play up the idea of Rick being heartless and not having connection or things like that. Episodes like this really do contradict that, right? I mean, just seeing Rick walking through the hallway with various numbers of towels, like he's noticing what the rest of the family is doing to Jerry, and is quietly like taking stock and being like, why are they beating up on him with this? All right, I'm not the biggest Jerry fan, but nobody deserves this from their family. So like him being willing to come to Jerry's aid in that, I think it shows more growth in Rick, and I think it's interesting.
And to be clear, Beth, Summer, and Morty were being real assholes about the whole thing
within the span of an hour. That's the thing that gets me the most. They did all of that crap in 60 minutes time.
I didn't catch that.
It's brutal.
That's so so awful that they built their grandmother's mannequin to hide in the closet, and then held the door closed on him.
And we
It's
laughed and laughed.
so cruel.
Yeah.
Um,
They did Brandon level Photoshop skills.
yeah. Okay, so all right, I think thematically, I think we got over a lot of this stuff. Let's go into our favorite bits and some of our favorite and least favorite parts of the episode. Obviously the taxi theme song, favorites playlist,
Yeah.
track 1.
Tax Talk or Taxi Talk, the new TikTok subgroup that loves the taxi theme song. I gotta say, I feel like the way they used the scene of them outside of the Panda Express and Rick saying, "Hey, favorites playlist, track 1," and then it played like Metallica or whatever in the trailer.
Yeah.
The juxtaposition of that, right? With expecting that song from the trailer for this high tempo fight scene, to then have that instead have Angela, the taxi theme song play, was a great subversion of expectations.
Yeah. 100%. I love obscure musical references in Rick and Morty. Just like, I think it's why I like James Gunn films, because I think he does a wonderful job of incorporating music that I like, and bringing it in the mainstream. To have Mr. Blue Sky at the start of Guardians of the Galaxy too, my heart soared. Okay, so speaking of callbacks, Nikki Chuck mentioning in the chat, a few other people calling it out, the whole Sleepy Gary thing, like a very kind of off, whatever, like just an aside.
Yeah.
But it's prominent enough that you're like, yeah, Sleepy Gary. When Jerry is trying to throw up the fortune cookie, and he's like, Sleepy Gary got rid of my gag reflex.
He ruined my gag reflex, and he wasn't even real.
Wonderful callback. Which is, hey, look, I mean, I guess that's all you need. Just need a memory, and it changes some stuff.
Sure. Yeah,
You know?
memory's a powerful thing.
It's true,
especially with parasites.
Yeah.
They really, I mean, Rick has had some amazing gadgets, some amazing tech throughout the series, but they really leaned into it. Like the go gadget Rick, his all of his weapons coming out of his back, the way his screwdrivers in the fingers, his eye coming out and periscoping around the truck. Just so many different things. They just really went all out with the different gadgets in this one, which was fun to watch. It was pretty cool.
Was there a gadget that jumped out at you as one of your favorites?
I don't know, just maybe the fact that he just used like Doc Ock tentacles to eat his chow mein in the in the Panda Express. Is a little excessive. You could have used like chopsticks or a fork, but whatever. You do you, Rick.
I like one of the last ones he used, which was just when everything is getting sucked through the portal, and he like kind of tentacle arms and Doc Ocks, and like his bionics are like holding on to the like just a small thing is in the background, but it was something that caught my eye all 3 times I watched the episode. Like, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But it's like, it looks like my server room. We're just how all the wires are all over the place. Just in making a mess.
Gotta lean into that cable management, Brandon and Rick.
But in the gadget way, I noticed in the very first fight scene from the clip in the trailers that we saw going into season 6, there was a one where like he's in that suit and he like all the stuff comes out of his back, and he's got a bunch of different gadgets. The fortune cookie then used by the security guard to say that they would do really well in the fight, and then all of his bionics kind of fall apart. I love that little fight scene because that guy goes into then doing a Liu Kang kick, a Liu Kang bicycle kick from Mortal Kombat, which is a fun little Easter egg there.
Yeah. I gotta say the action sequences in this episode were really great, and kudos to the board artists and the director for putting together some really cool fight scenes throughout the episode. There's a lot of action in this episode for sure.
Oh yeah.
One of the other tropes of this episode that Summer calls out specifically at the beginning of the episode, saying that you have to eat the fortune cookie first before you read the fortune, otherwise it won't come true. She mentions it at the beginning of the episode, but they hold to that rule for the remainder of the episode. Everybody as they're reading their fortunes has to eat the cookie first before they read the fortune, which I thought was really interesting. Is just sort of this like, I don't know, social like unspoken rule that everybody knows you have to eat the cookie first before you get the fortune.
I thought that they would do, and I'm glad they didn't, because it would have been low hanging fruit, just like the in bed thing.
Oh yeah.
I'm glad they didn't. But like, I thought it was funny when Morty and Beth both got the same fortune.
Yes.
Morty was like, oh, well, that's this way. Because the last time I ate at a Chinese food restaurant, I got the same fortune as my mom. I was like, oh, that's disappointing.
Yeah. Yeah. I also think it could have been nice if, like, in one of those fight scenes or when everything's going crazy, if they had like turned that rule on its head or something, and somebody like had like just grabbed the fortune and read it, and then popped the cookie in, and then like nothing happened or something like that. I don't know. I wonder if that was tried and like maybe didn't land.
That
as well or something.
With so much action, I wonder if that would have been too hectic. Maybe it was in there, maybe not. But that's a good thought. Yeah. But yeah, like all the fortune cookie fighting, we kind of mentioned that already, which is, I thought that was cool. Rick stealing that technology from Jeneth, to see who had what power, and the one guy with fire and the one guy with water, and then Rick saying, maybe I can Pokemon this shit.
Yeah. Just pose the fire and water against each other and make sure that you use the right types. The fact that there really was a cookie monster when they Rick makes a low hanging fruit sort of joke about a cookie monster, for them to actually have a giant monster that's pooping out cookies, was pretty hilarious as well.
Yeah. All right. Well, so going into maybe some of our the other parts that we thought of the episode, the Fortune 500 thing, like, I don't think it's cheap. I
think it's just easy. I think maybe like
it's like it's clever. I have mixed feelings with that. I'm like, I think it's clever, because I don't know if I would have thought about that. But well, after you start thinking about fortunes and Fortune 500, but then it's a company thing. So I'm gonna give them credit. I'm gonna give them half credit.
All right, half credit on that joke. Mark it in the ledger. Yeah. I don't know what this next one is that you wrote in here. Is this something I missed in the episode?
Oh yeah. You didn't have to call me out. Change your letters or whatever. You don't know Gautier?
I do know Gautier. I don't.
Yeah, you've never seen his video. Oh man.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying.
He's
Gautier
an artist that you
blending.
used to know.
You're talking about when the security guards are walking by and Rick and Jerry blend into the wallpaper for camouflage. I never associated that with Gautier in multiple viewings. So okay, now I feel better about it.
I don't even know if that is a Gautier reference, but anytime I see somebody matching with the wallpaper, that's what I go
That's where your
with.
brain goes.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's where it goes.
Okay.
So here, this next, I want to talk about this one a little bit. I put comments in the show notes originally, but I took them out just so we can have the conversation. What did you feel about the character of Jeneth Padro Chunth?
I think that maybe in the first draft of this treatment, they were like, all right, we're gonna have some sort of female businesswoman, some like, and we're just gonna take all of the like white businesswoman like tropes and we're gonna smash them together. And then so they're like, let's talk about multi-level marketing and let's talk about like women that pull themselves up from nothing. And oh, wait a minute, did we just describe Gwyneth Paltrow? Like, no. So I think they probably just took a lot of various ideas and kind of just smashed them together. I honestly like I thought she was an okay villain, I guess, for the episode. But for the most part, I wasn't like overly impressed with like the concept or anything, I guess. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah. All right. No, that's okay. That's okay. Thanks for your input. All right, moving on. No, I'm just kidding.
Hey, I was just gonna put this in the show notes and have Travis talk about it.
I when they said her name the first time, my immediate thought was, man, that's really on the nose a little bit. Like, and maybe do I want to say a low blow? Like, I don't know where else in the series that they've just been like so bluntly like talking shit about, or like made a main character like obviously based off of a different character. I mean, maybe the devil and Steve Jobs back in season one, but like they even like Gwyneth Paltrow, like it's obvious who they're making fun of, and it seems kind of, and Rick it goes against this earlier in the episode against bullying, and it feels kind of like bullying just a little bit, or like change the name. We can all
who
you're talking about.
But I think it's also like a commentary to like rich white women who feel like they can change the world by selling products, or by like, oh, well, I'm going to be the answer to this social problem. If you buy my lotions, and and we're going to donate, X number of dollars to, or X number of our profits,
Yeah.
And so,
Yeah.
I do think there's a commentary and there's a criticism there that is probably fair for certain organizations or certain people. But yeah, it just, with the name of the character being so close to a specific person, it could be a little bit more pointed than, I don't know if she's a fan of the show. I don't know how she'll feel about it. I somehow doubt.
She's probably like, what? This is my favorite show, and now Jupe isn't gonna do nearly as well now after this episode is is airing.
Taking down the whole organization for sure.
Yeah, it would be like if I said, I like a lot of podcasts, but there's like one host, let's just call him Bavis Aynard, that he's just the worst.
Yeah.
You're like,
no, I've heard that before.
I've heard that before. Anyway, okay, all right, moving on. Let's talk about hating productive things. I really like that's a nifty segue.
Yeah.
When Jerry and Rick are in the vents, and Jerry's talks about hating him, and Rick says, "Why don't you hate productive things? Hate going through these vents."
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah. Stop complaining. Hate productive things. The idea of fortune cookies, our alien poop, is funny, but then when they break the fourth wall, look right into the animated camera, and say, "Fortune cookies are alien poop." Just really hammering that home to make sure that it sticks.
And holding it for like an extra half second longer than it felt comfortable.
Yeah.
Yeah, good. When one of the guys eats the fortune cookie and he turns into like a robot T-Rex, and saying, "I am the son of God,"
And then just bashes through the wall, runs on out. I'm trying to remember the reference for this next one.
The old talk about the old man. The old man.
Oh.
I wish I had written more lines that he said.
Yeah.
But one of the things he said, "Shit on a spaghetti."
He also references after the Cookie Monster is released, and he's like, "Oh well, I guess I was just fantasizing about a wild animal and creating emotional attachment that wasn't there, just like such and such lady from the 1960s when she was, doing whatever with the dolphins." I looked that up. Like, were you familiar with this story?
I don't. I won't pretend that I'm
okay
totally familiar with it.
It's in the 1960s.
Okay.
And I did not write down the name. I meant to. This lady was doing studies on dolphins, and she was in an isolation, like, with one dolphin, trying to teach it English. She was trying to teach human language to a dolphin.
Okay.
And apparently this young dolphin was sexually, like, aroused or whatever, like, regularly, and it became a distraction to their work. And so instead of taking the dolphin from where they were working to a tank with, like, other dolphins, she would just help the dolphin along. and like the comments and stuff in it, it was insane. It was insane. So anyway, yeah, there's just this really obscure story that they decided to put in there as a note. But yeah, her research wasn't didn't really amount to much, I guess. But yeah, weird the things you learn watching Rick and Morty. Yeah.
There you go. I'm glad it's a real story and it wasn't just made up.
No, yeah, I was like, is this just some weird thing they made up? But no, it's 100. Go to Wikipedia, it's all there.
Hot shittity shit. I really enjoy that there's the in episode payoff for the Sailor Moon Jerry sequence.
I can feel the savings already.
I was as I saw that in the preview, I was like, I hope that they mention it again in that episode, but I really hope that it doesn't have to be season 6, doesn't have to be 7 or 8 even, but at some point in time they reference that moment again and they call back that because
yeah.
I mean that's
at some point it's just such an easy pull for them to just be like, just do the Sailor Moon thing again.
It's also a joke that keeps on giving, you know?
Can we talk about Jerry's internal logic? Like, we saw the clips in the trailer of Jerry dressed like Morty. and we speculated. We were like, why would he be in Morty's clothes? But his internal logic that if his fortune is, I'm going to have sex with my mom, well, if I dress as Morty, then my mom is Beth, which is a person that I want to have sex with. So, like, okay, I'll just put on a yellow T-shirt and jeans, and that'll solve it. That and the fact that Morty's like, I'm not unpacking that. I just thought that was a great
line. I mean, hey, good on Jerry for some abstract thinking there, to get after some solutions to problems that we didn't realize.
That's right.
That's great. The final thing that we have here written is the post credits Zoo ad. Zoo, they're talking about earlier in the episode, Jerry eating the zebra food and getting sick, and he's like, "What? They put him in gumball machines," which is true, right?
They do put it in gumball machines.
I laughed at that because the first time I saw food at a gumball machine at a zoo, I was like, am I supposed to eat that?" I thought it. I'm not ashamed to admit it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So anyway, the post credit scene, it's just the video of like, don't eat the zebra food, don't eat the zebra, and everyone's getting sick, and then everybody starts getting crazy, and then they start eating each other, and then the announcer's like, the zebras how do they get in the booth? And then which is very interdimensional cable.
It's probably the most interdimensional cable we've seen all season. Like,
in a long time, I'd say. And I think even Morty's kind of reaction to that, I think that feels improvisational a little bit too.
Yeah.
Like they're like, "Hey Royland, here's a scene that we put together. Just comment on it as Morty." And that's what he came up with. Like, wait, is there a twist here? Oh, that's a twist. We're in a human zoo.
Human zoo. I get it. We're human zoo. Yeah. Yeah. So those are our thoughts on this episode. If there's anything from the episode that we didn't cover, or a favorite moment that you feel like we should talk about, let's not stop the conversation here. Feel free to hit us up over at Rick and Morty Pod over on Twitter. If you're watching the video over on YouTube, leave a comment. Let us know what you loved about the episode. If there's anything you really didn't like. Saw a lot of people over on the subreddit talking about how they felt like this was one of the funniest or their favorite episodes of the season, minus some of the incest jokes. But for the most part, a lot of folks liked it. We've got a lot of awesome people here in the chat and following along all over the internet. So we want to take a moment and honor them now in our final segment, listener suggestions and short outs. Brandon, anybody that you want to short out off the top here?
Of course. There are a few people I want to shout out, Travis.
Give them
One
shouts.
One, Raptor, or the T-Rex, who's the son of God, the only son of God. So over the Twitch chat, right? We kind of mentioned it earlier, but like really exciting. So we got Zachmo 137, Vizeratist, old Rad Black, Grumpy Shih Tzu, subscribing to us in the Twitch chat. Peace Among Ricks being there. Nikki Chuck, have a good day face. And he's there. He's never seen. He doesn't watch the show, and I fucking hate him for it. He's losing his best friend status just because of that. But whatever. Anyway, but like, thank you so much for being out there. It's so great having people there and like having a conversation. Oh, quick, the Ewok too. Having that conversation out there. It's so cool to have that. So thank you for being there.
And thanks to multiples that subscribed this episode. Zachmo 137 even gifting a sub. So if you've been thinking about subscribing, but you haven't yet, go grab that gift sub from Zachmo and become a subscriber. Yeah, just grab it. Just grab it right up there. Just click on it right there. Click.
I can grab it?
Yeah, just grab it.
I
grab it. Give it to someone else.
I subscribe.
Also, we mentioned Patreon at the top of the show, but Zachary Menlove, brand new patron over at patreon.com. Thank you so much for supporting. We love you. Thank you for being awesome and supporting all of our endeavors. And then over on YouTube, we got a few commenters over on YouTube. Pink Duck Princess saying that mixing it up with the transition music caught them off guard. So you're keeping people on their toes, Brandon. You got the pre-recorded stuff, the acapella, a little mix of both. You're could go any direction. Mass J and President Alone, both upset that they keep missing the live. Maybe they're here now. Maybe they're watching live right now. So actually, yeah. I think we've got crossover. I think we're I think we're connecting dots, which means our YouTube views are going to go down. But thanks for watching live. We're glad that you're here.
So glad you're here. Yeah, by the way, Zachmo is Zachary. So one and the same. Thank you for hanging out in both places, as well as the Discord. You're out there. I talk to
in
you.
all the places.
All the places. On the transition music, I just want to say this, right? I'm just trying to get a 1 to 5 star review that says, I really wish they came back with the improvisational ad-libbing, because the music...
Is that fishing for reviews? I don't know. You tell me. By heading over to your favorite podcast app and leaving a review, let us know what you think. This is so much fun. I know we're halfway through the season, but it's already been a blast, and we have 5 more episodes to go. Thanks to everybody that continues to be a part of the show, listen, rate, review, do all those things. If you want to go the extra mile and share this show over on your social media, share it with the people that you know that are fans, we would appreciate that. Thank you so much. And until next week, I'm Travis.
And I am Brandon, and we'll see you next week. Maybe earlier if I get Alex on.
This could be. Twitch post show happening right now. Don't go anywhere.
Back.